Welcome to Life Planning 101, brought to you by Kennedy Financial Services in Eastland, Texas. Tune in every week as we share important information to help you and your family live life on purpose. Insurance, investments, legacy and tax planning, and much more. All covered now on Life Planning 101.
Welcome to Life Planning 101. My name is Angela Kennedy Robinson with Kennedy Financial Services here in the great town of Eastland, Texas. We are excited to bring you another episode on how to live life on purpose. And this particular episode has an interesting topic. Don't begin with the end in mind. Now, I'm going to preface that I am a huge Stephen Covey fan. So if you know his work, you know he says always begin with the end in mind. So you can only imagine that, of course, we do have a little twist on this, but there's a tiny bit of chaos going on in the world today. I'm not sure if anyone's noticed. In fact, there's a saying about there's 50 states of chaos. Well, it's just called the USA. And that's the way it feels, right? There's just so much going on, so much complexity. And everyone out there, I think, is looking for answers. You know, we work in the world of helping people plan for their futures and helping them manage their success, everything that they've worked so hard to build. And, you know, we're getting more and more questions every single day about how do we keep our hard-earned dollars in our pocket. There's so much changes coming down the pike with taxes. My goodness, I go to the grocery store and I can't believe how much it costs. How am I going to keep up with this? How do we retire and not worry about inflation, the system eating into our pockets? What about these investment markets? Goodness gracious, financial, real estate, everything. It's all at an all-time high. Can this continue? Everything appears to be so overpriced. And I think everyone out there, everyone has questions and everyone is looking for answers. So there's an author. His name is Arthur Halavardi. And he once said, the first secret of getting what you want is knowing what you want. Well, you may be telling me, well, I know what I want. Otherwise, I wouldn't be asking the questions, right? And I would challenge that, because if you're looking for answers, you may have a rhyme to reason that you do know what you want, but there's another quote I want to give you by Eugene Lonsecco. And he says, it's not the answer that enlightens, but the question. One of the things that we have looked at over the last 30 years is how to help people live life on purpose. Now, there's no answer about the tax system in that question. There's no answer about our financial markets in that question. There is no answer about retiring successfully in that question. Now, you may be fighting me saying, okay, well, if that's true, I can't do one without the other. And you may be right. Obviously, those are key ingredients to helping people live life on purpose. But I think Dr. Stephen Covey didn't mean begin with the end in mind by looking for an answer to your current predicament or what keeps you awake at night the most right now. I think what Dr. Covey meant was begin with the end in mind, meaning what does it mean to live life on purpose to you? And are you really building out your plan based on that? Or are you just piecemealing it together, trying to get by? Well, there might be risk in that. And that's what we're going to talk about when we come back on Life Planning 101. You're not going to want to miss it. Welcome back to Life Planning 101. My name is Angela Robinson with Kennedy Financial Services. Make sure you visit us online at www.kennedy-financial.com. You can sign up for our weekly Life Lessons newsletter, where we actually have original content in those newsletters each and every week, dealing with one of the 8 life planning issues, whether it's family support, charitable gifting, business succession, selling it, transferring it to the next generation, charitable planning, legacy planning, investments, taxes, insurance, and liabilities. And I don't think, there's any other publication out there that does a more comprehensive job of getting out new and relevant things to you each and every week. Of course, we create it. So yeah, little bias there, but make sure you go online and listen to that. And in the meantime, we're talking about don't begin with the end in mind. A little contradictory to what Mr. Stephen Covey tells us. And the reason why is, we look too often, I think, for an answer. We spend years and years building our legacies, whether it's our family success, our businesses, our wealth. My gosh, think of the tireless effort that you've put into that. Think of all those sweat hours and sacrifices that you've made. And yet we wait until the last hour to plan for the biggest moments in our life. The moment that you decide to retire, you wait until the last hour. The moment you decide to sell that family ranch or that piece of real estate or that business that has been helping your family be successful for years and years, or you helping it be successful for years and years. And we wait until the last hour, either by force or by the fact that we see the future. Doesn't matter. We wait until the last hour. Why is that? Why do we wait till crunch time to make those things happen? And what about helping the next generation be successful? I think it's really interesting that most people want to work on their legacy plans the older they get. Is it because they realize that death is inevitable, that everybody does, they're born and they do die? Or they know that they need to start doing something about all the success that they built and how that gets handed down to the next generation and how it doesn't hurt the family going to the next generation. Why is it that we wait? Why is it that we are always looking during crunch time for the answer? Why is it that we are getting bombarded with calls right now over tax planning? Because people have waited and waited and waited to work on their estate plans or work on selling that thing they've needed to sell, or waited to work on the tax planning so they keep dollars in their pocket. Why is it that we do that? I mean, I guess it's just human nature to procrastinate. But the reality is when we wait, what we end up doing inevitably is looking for a way to put out a fire. What we don't think about is that putting out that fire really did only one thing. It put out that fire. It didn't prevent any more fires from happening. And the reality is if all we're doing is looking for ways to put out fires, then really we're just dealing with fear. That's it. We're not dealing with anything else. What worries us, what keeps us awake at night, we're not worried about preventing another one from happening. And maybe we're worried about it, but we think, oh, like Scarlett O'Hara, I can handle that another day. I will just wait for that tomorrow, whatever the saying is, right? So there's an old story of a Boilermaker. And he was hired to fix this huge steamship boiler system that wasn't working well. And after listening to the engineer's description of the problems and asking a few questions, of course, he went down to check out the boiler. And he looked at the maze of these twisting pipes and listened to the thump of the boiler and the hiss of the escaping steam for a few minutes and felt some of the pipes in his hands. And then he humbly, softly to himself, reached into his overalls and took out a small hammer. He tapped one of the little bright red valves one time, and immediately the entire system began working perfectly. And the Boilermaker went home. One tap, and it started working perfectly. Well, when the steamship owner received a bill for $1,000 for that one tap, he became outraged, of course, right? One tap, oh my goodness, and complained to the Boilermaker, who had only been in the engine room for 15 minutes and requested that itemized bill. So the Boilermaker sent him a bill that read as follows. For tapping the valve, 50 cents. For knowing where to tap, $999.50. Total bill, $1,000. The moral of the story is this. At the end of the day, education will most likely help you to find a way to know to tap. If we skip that part, all we're doing is tapping everywhere. And just imagine that you spend your life tapping in the wrong spots. You wake up one day, what's happened? Do you have something that is a big mess? Maybe, maybe not. Maybe you have the good luck syndrome and it hasn't happened to you. But our experiences is this, is most of the time when people have just been putting out fires their whole life, at some point, if their success keeps growing, they've got to handle it. Or at some point when things start going wayward and they've got to figure out it's crunch time, that, maybe they've been retired for 10, 15 years and they are starting to run out of money. What do? Right? Or their health has failed them and they have to sell that business that they never planned on selling. What do? Or their kid just went off the deep end and they don't know how to handle that with their estate. What do? These are real stories. Those are real things that happen to real families. And we always say, it won't happen to me. Oh, I can deal with it tomorrow. Well, okay, Scarlett O'Hara, it doesn't always work that way. We have to realize that learning to tap, where to tap, takes time. It can't happen overnight. So what do you need to be doing if you don't need to be searching for so-called answers and beginning with that end in mind in today's little bit of chaos world? Well, that's what we're going to talk about on Life Planning 101 when we come back. You're not going to want to miss it. Beginning with the end in mind. Is it the real answer? That's what we're talking about here on Life Planning 101. We've been working under the deadline, under the gun, so to speak, with families for more than 30 years. We get a call and someone saying, I retired yesterday, or I'm retiring tomorrow, or I'm selling this piece of real estate and I know I should have done something ahead of time, or I'm selling this business and I know we haven't planned for this, or yeah, right. Yeah, that's exactly what goes on. And working under the gun has brought us a lot of wisdom. The one thing that rings true, so to speak, every time is that it's never about the answer. Those kind of calls come out of, last minute procrastination. Sometimes they come out of fear. And I'll guarantee this, fear is not the answer. It's not ever the answer. That's for certain. But the reality is we're getting more and more of that. And why are we getting more and more of that? It's because of the chaos. Well, I'm gonna tell you something that I don't think we often see when there's so much going on around us and so much change and so many things that are unsettling. Chaos is normalcy. Yeah. Start looking historically. Look at the chaos that has been present upon this earth for years and years and years and years. And yes, it does affect you directly. It does affect your family directly. There is no stinking doubt about that. I was on the phone with a couple over these last few weeks, and we were talking about, well, if we can't get this done, it'll cost this amount of dollars. And, the fact that we're all penny pinching and we want to save those dollars. And there's no doubt about that. There's no doubt that everybody wants to save every hard-earned dollar that they spend and not give it to the wrong place or not pay more taxes than they feel owed, or, keep as much as they can for their family and make sure that their family's successful. All of these things are really, really, really important. But the thing is we're always looking for that answer, that solution. It's kind of like if I got a nail and I need to get it in the wall, I don't go get a screwdriver, right? I get a hammer. And I know that. And everybody's looking for that kind of quick fix is, okay, this is what you need for this. And yeah, there are people that do that. There are people that look at one problem at a time and handle it, one fire at a time and put it out. But they don't spend the time to look at the deeper picture, because it's so much deeper than the answers. And sometimes the most apparent answer is really not applicable at all. Sometimes the most apparent answer is the one that actually hurts you. I can't tell you how many times that we've seen people come to us after the fact after they sold that business, after they were retired, after they finished up their estate plan, maybe several years into retirement or several years into that plan. And what we figure out is that through our process, the life planning process that we go through, is that what was done, the answer really doesn't work out in the long term. It's not a good solution. It can't work. You see, because here's the deal is that you say, I want to sell my business. I want to pay the least amount of tax. That's your goals. Is that really your goals? Is that really your goals? Or really is it about your future? Is it about what you want to accomplish with the sale of that business? Is it about your goals, your family dynamics, taking care of your family? How do you do that with everyone having a dysfunctional family? Don't feel alone. Everybody does. How do you do that with your feelings about where the economy is and the markets and the risk and the taxes? What's going to keep you awake at night? What's most important to you? Are you addressing those kinds of questions? We always say it's not about the answer. It's about the question, the right question, and knowing that right question, knowing where to tap. You know, I think the reality is that most people want a solution. How do I sell my business and pay the least amount of tax? How do I invest my money today? Where do I go get my estate plan in order? And really what they need to be asking is, how do I live life on purpose? And to get that answer, we've got to start asking one thing. We've got to start asking, what does it mean to live life on purpose for you? You see, I think there's too many cookie cutter answers out there. I look at Google. You can find anything on Google. You can find 2 answers that totally contradict each other on Google if you work at it a little bit. And at work at it, all I mean is type it in the Google box and hit the search button, the little magnifying glass. It's that simple to find a contradictory conclusion to your question. Well, how do you know that when you're putting out one fire, you're really not contradicting the rest of what it means to live life on purpose to you? So yes, more than 30 years of experience has given us the wisdom to see holes, okay? I cannot tell you what it feels like to walk into a situation and start going through somebody's information and understanding their goals and automatically be able to see all the overlaps and gaps and the things they needed to fix yesterday. Oh my gosh. Yes, I can see that. We can see that. That's what we do. But the problem is, if we go to fixing those holes right then and there, it's just about the answer. And it's like grabbing that hammer. And really what we need a screwdriver, because now we've got to screw something in. We aren't nailing something in. And we're going for something altogether wrong. And that's where things do go wrong, because Google can't give you the answer you're looking for. A cookie cutter product can't give you the answer that you're looking for. An investment shop, an insurance shop, for heaven's sakes, we can't give you that if you're just looking for an answer. I tell people all the time, my warning is when they come on in a way of, hey, we're selling this and we don't want to pay this much tax. I tell people, okay, you got to know, we're going to give you options, but we're going to put a lot on your table to make decisions, because we can't really give you solid recommendations because we don't understand you. We haven't had the time. We haven't what we call slow down to go fast with that situation. Now, when we work with someone that we really understand their unique situation, their future goals, family dynamics, feelings about everything going on, and when we have a solid relationship and we've taken the time to slow down, to go fast, and we hit crunch time, it's easy. It's super easy. We pull together this solution. We make these recommendations, and we talk through the pros and cons of everything, and then we pull triggers, and it just happens. Whew. Now, in a world of chaos, doesn't that sound great? So why the heck aren't we doing it? Why do we take time to build all this stuff so that during crunch hour we can try to figure out what to do with it? A lifetime of work. I'd say it's worth slowing down to go fast. So, what is your unique situation? Is it different from your neighbors? What are your goals? Are they different from your business partners? What does your future look like? Is it different than what it used to be? What are your family dynamics? I'm sure you have dysfunctions. I know I do. What are your feelings about the economy? Chaos? What about the markets? Things being so high priced. What about risk? What about taxes? What's most important to you? What keeps you awake at night? What makes you tick? What does it mean for you to live life on purpose? If you're sitting here 30, 40, 50 years from today, and you're at the end of your life and you're looking back over your life, what do you not want to regret? Are you answering those questions? Is your plan, is all the answers that you're getting around your taxes and your retirement and your investments, are they surrounded by that plan? Or are they just surrounded by a plan of, I need to put out that fire? Because if you're not starting there, if you're not starting with that plan, that slow down to go fast plan, that understanding everything from a holistic level plan, the chances are is that you're just putting out a fire to learn that you've got another one. So my advice to you today is don't begin with finding an answer. Let us help you take the time to find your answers, to figure out your situation, and make sure that it helps you and your family to live life on purpose. My name is Angela Robinson with Kennedy Financial Services. God bless everyone. Have a great week. Our prayers continue for our country to heal in multiple ways. We know hurricanes, COVID, Afghanistan, these have been rough times, and our prayers are with each and every one of our listeners and the families that we work with. And we can't wait to have you again next week on Life Planning 101.
Thank you for joining us for Life Planning 101, brought to you by Kennedy Financial Services. If you have questions, you can email them to lifeplanning@kennedy-financial.com. Be sure to tune in next week for more Life Planning 101. Advisory services offered through Smart Money Group LLC, a registered investment advisor. Securities offered through Calton and Associates Incorporated, member FINRA SIPC. Kennedy Financial Services Incorporated, Calton and Associates Incorporated, and Smart Money Group LLC are separate entities.